You have lifted the bar today.
Are you our last one? There's my...
Oh, there's a competition going on.
House Leader.
Yes. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I want to thank the member from Manchester Southern, Mr. Bunting, for his very data-focused presentation. We'll now have the Member of Parliament from St. Elizabeth North Eastern, Ms. Zuleka Jess, who will now join us for her presentation.
You're getting there. You're getting there. Slowly, you're getting there.
Permission to speak from a seat.
You may go ahead, Member Jess.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Permission to speak from a...
Permission granted.
Permission to speak from a seat that is not my
I said
own.
permission granted.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. As I rise to make my maiden contribution to this sectoral debate, I must start by thanking God for his guidance and grace. I wish to thank the Leader of the Opposition, Mark Golding, for the confidence he has placed in me to shadow the critical portfolio of justice. Even though I must confess that at first I wasn't sure if it was a promotion or punishment. Either way, I promise to defend justice fiercely. I come to this role in my 15th year as a senior attorney with diverse experience and perspectives. I wish to thank my incredible hardworking team on the ground, led by my councillors, Councillor Everton Fisher, Caretaker Maurice Nemard, but particularly, Madam Speaker, Councillors Champion Myers and Donovan Pagan, who have been my shield and my protector. I wish to thank my phenomenal family in Northeastern St. Elizabeth. Thank you for saying yes to Jess and a young fresh face. I promise to represent your voices stridently, even if some of the phone calls I receive are about asking me to personally help you to find a wife. Or to personally reimburse you for the damage done to your vehicle by the potholes along Santa Cruz. To my friends and long-suffering family, thank you for putting up with my long days and late nights on the political battlefield. You are my anchor and my sanity. Madam Speaker, this maiden presentation is not mine alone. It belongs to the people of northeastern St. Elizabeth and to every Jamaican demanding a fair, transparent, and accessible justice system. I am deeply honored to speak on their behalf today. But we cannot speak about a fair and accessible justice system when the physical infrastructure of our courts is an absolute disgrace. 7 months after Hurricane Melissa, the justice system in St. Elizabeth and Westmoreland isn't recovering. It is battering for life. So today, I must speak on behalf of the judges, the court staff, the attorneys, and the thousands of ordinary Jamaicans who are being forced to search for justice in ruins. Madam Speaker, let us look at the proud parish of St. Elizabeth, from which I now hail. The historic Black River Courthouse was battered by Hurricane Melissa. And what was this ministry's brilliant emergency plan? To cram the displaced staff into the Santa Cruz Courthouse, which was never designed to carry this capacity. Go to Santa Cruz right now, Madam Speaker. The conditions are utterly degrading. In January of this year, court staff were driven to fury because they were being forced to work in a building with no running water, no water for sanitation, no water for dignity. How can this administration boast of a modern justice system when our court workers cannot even wash their hands? Under this government, Madam Speaker, the wheels of justice aren't just turning slowly. They are grinding to a dirty halt. But the lack of water isn't even the worst part. The security infrastructure under this administration has completely collapsed. Just months ago in Santa Cruz, it was reported in the news that a member of the public barged straight into the court office and grabbed a box of legal files. It took the court staff themselves, who are ordinary workers, not trained security personnel, to physically fight off the intruder and knock the files from his hands. This happened at the Santa Cruz Courthouse in January of this year. But let us move on down the road, Madam Speaker, to Westmoreland. The Westmoreland Parish Court is out of commission. Initially, the minister boldly declared in November 2025 that the resources were available and that they were looking to secure a contractor under emergency procurement to restore the courthouse in the shortest possible time. But a few moments later, what do we hear, Madam Speaker? Now the minister says it will be too costly to repair. A total shameless flip-flop. Madam Speaker, the minister's assurances carry no weight. First, the money was there to do the repair. Now the building cannot be repaired. This isn't governance. It is pure double talk designed to hide delay and incompetence. They are talking in circles to hide the fact that they are dropping the ball and the people need justice. In light of the fact that the Westmoreland Parish Court is compromised, ordinary citizens are now forced to cross parish lines into Hanover to access the circuit court all the way in Lucy. Madam Speaker, think of the staggering economic punishment. Madam Speaker, think of the staggering economic punishment this inflicts on the people of Westmoreland. Madam Speaker, I see that those on the government aisle do not wish for me to speak the truth today, but we are going to talk about justice. Think of the astronomical expense for jurors, for litigants, for lawyers who must find transportation and meals just to travel back and forth to Lucy day after day because there is no court in Westmoreland to accommodate circuit. Madam Speaker, this government has turned the right to a fair trial into an endurance trek. Madam Speaker, they can howl all they want, but until they fix the justice crisis in the West, we will speak about this in the halls of this Parliament. This ministry has turned the right to a fair trial into an endurance trek. This is not administering justice. This is navigating an obstacle course. The Minister of Justice speaks about first-class justice system and modernization of the justice system, but I challenge the Minister today, leave your air-conditioned office in Kingston, come down to Santa Cruz, come down to Westmoreland, work in a port where there is no running water, pay the taxi fare from Lucy, pay the taxi fare from Savlamar to Lucy, and tell the people why they should tolerate this injustice. Madam, thank God for the late, great Roger Clark's legacy. Madam Speaker, don't take my word for it. The Chief Justice himself stated that this ministry is an unreliable partner. This statement was made after it was revealed that the judiciary had to use its own budget to carry out emergency court repairs in Western Jamaica to give judges a place to work. When the courts have to stop focusing on clearing backlogs and instead start acting like building contractors just to put a roof over a judge's head, that is not a success story. It is a total system failure, and the people need justice. Madam Speaker, there is no context in the world that would make the words unreliable partner sound good when they come from the head of the judiciary. Those words aren't opposition talking points. That is a direct, unprecedented indictment from Chief Justice Brian Sykes. When the highest judge in the land publicly states that the judiciary cannot be trusted to provide basic functional infrastructure, that is a vote of no confidence. Hurricane Melissa was an act of nature, but this delay in restoring our courts is an act of sheer incompetence. We are not blaming the minister for the hurricane. We are blaming the minister for the total absence of a recovery plan. It does not take 7 months to connect a water tank so that court workers can wash their hands. It doesn't take 7 months to post 1 or 2 police officers outside a courthouse to secure court files. Madam Speaker, if the Chief Justice of Jamaica can find the resources to fix the court infrastructure, what is the minister doing with his? And if he has none, is it that logistics has prevented the good Prime Minister from directing some of the barely touched disaster recovery funds to restore access to justice in these hurricane-affected parishes? I put it to you, Madam Speaker, justice under this government is a disaster in need of recovery. I urge the Minister to commission and fund an emergency infrastructural and security audit of all rural courthouses across Jamaica. We demand immediate police security deployment to the Santa Cruz courthouse. We demand clear timelines and urgent allocations for the construction of the St. Elizabeth and Westmoreland Parish Courts so the people can access justice. Madam Speaker, I turn very quickly to an issue that I dub the legal aid injustice. Too many ordinary Jamaicans are being completely locked out of the courts because this administration refuses to expand the categories of cases covered by legal aid. The legal aid framework is rigidly structured to primarily cover criminal matters. But what does the data actually say? The data shows that the vast majority of citizens requesting legal aid are begging for help with civil matters over criminal matters. According to the Legal Aid Council, 90% of legal requests received from members of the public are for civil matters, particularly divorces tied to incidents of domestic abuse. Madam Speaker, access to justice cannot be a half measure. When a government limits legal aid to a narrow band of cases, it effectively closes the doors of the court to the poor. We see the consequences every single day in our courts. Unrepresented litigants struggling to understand complex legal rules, overwhelmed judges trying to balance the scales, and ultimately a breakdown of public trust in the rule of law. According to the Chief Justice's Civil Division Statistics Report, over 16,000 new civil cases are filed in the parish court every single year. But the report also shows that in up to 70% of those civil cases, at least one party is completely without a lawyer, forced to face a judge completely on their own. Madam Speaker, it is a David versus Goliath battle where the state refuses to give David a sling, not even a stone. What makes this absolutely worse, Madam Speaker, is that it has absolutely nothing to do with lack of resources. During the recent Standing Finance Committee right here at Gordon House, the Minister of Justice openly admitted on the record that the money is there. He proudly declared that the ministry satisfied all claims by attorney and has the fiscal space. Therefore, let us call it what it really is: a total lack of political will and complete indifference to the plight of the poor. The money is there. The budget has the space. The minister confessed that the funds exist. Yet this administration chooses to let those funds sit idle while poor Jamaicans are crushed by legal fees or forced to forfeit their rights because they cannot afford an attorney. The people do not want any more excuses, Madam Speaker. We do not want public relations mobile units that can only give legal advice but leave citizens defenseless when a civil trial actually starts. We demand that the government stop hoarding these resources, listen to the data from its own agencies, and immediately amend the regulations to expand legal aid categories to cover civil matters. Stop locking the poor out of justice. Madam Speaker, I move to address a deep inequity in our community justice system. The total lack of financial support, stipend, or expense coverage for Jamaica's justices of the peace. The Ministry of Justice expects over 7,000 JPs to render strictly voluntary service. They are forbidden. The Ministry of Justice expects over 12,000 JPs to render strictly voluntary service. They are forbidden from accepting any payment or reward, yet the state relies on them to process bail, to visit lockups, to conduct mediation. Active JPs must currently pay for their own stationery, printer, ink, travel costs to courts and prisons out of their own pockets, and even fund their expenses to serve in court as lay magistrates. Madam Speaker, this is not sustainable voluntarism. It is institutional exploitation. Madam Speaker, I do not yield. I do not yield, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the Minister
Member
of
Jess.
Justice continues
Member
to
Jess.
flatly
Member Jess. Member Jess. Member Jess. Please sit. Please sit. Member Jess, please sit. Listen, you know, if you would only learn the standing orders, you see, members, I would so appreciate it. Member Jess, please take your seat. Minister Chuck, please quote the standing order number on which you are raising a point of order.
The member is misleading the House.
That is not a... that is not a...
Go ahead.
You need to stop.